How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video we are getting the finishing touches done on the engine bay, and in this box I may even have some paint. So more about that later. For now, let's roll that intro and get into it. Alright guys, I am about 4 hours into block sanding the engine bay, so let's have a look at where we're currently at. So during the week I've been spending about an hour every evening just getting some sanding done. So this is now day 5, it's Friday now actually, so I'm going to spend as much time as I need to out here until the passenger side is done. So from here back is done till about this point. So now I got the top of the strut tower done. I still need to do behind it and this area back here where I did all the fiberglass work. And then I also have this portion of the frame rail to do yet, and a little bit under here. So I'm just gonna get going on this tonight. Goal this weekend is to, at the very least, get the firewall finished. And then get started on this side. Plan is to get the engine bay painted in about a week's time, so I got a lot of work ahead of me yet, but I really want to get this done. I still need to pick a color yet too, so I gotta do some research and really crack down and find out what color I actually want. I have a pretty good idea of what I want, but I haven't found a specific color yet. So I'm just gonna go hard on the sanding. We'll see how far I get. I'm not gonna bother taking you guys along for the ride because I know you've seen more than enough sanding already. So let's get to it. I'll catch up with you guys in a little bit.
One eternity later.
Alright guys, update time. So currently I'm about 14 hours into block sanding this engine bay. We're getting close, but I still got quite a bit of work ahead yet. But let's have a quick look, see where we're at. At the moment, I got all of this block sanded. Behind this strut tower is block sanded. Most of this strut tower is block sanded. So I've got basically this section in here to do. Frame rail is done. And then I have the upper rad support on top that I have to block sand yet. But we are getting very close. So I've done the rough sanding, so plan is to finish up the rough sanding today. So by the end of today I'll be about 15 hours into this, but once that is done, then I want to do some of the detail sanding. So for instance, some of the stuff over here where it should have a bit of a soft curve to it has a really sharp edge on it right now. So I'm gonna have to go over all the curves and just make sure there's no sharp edges. So I know there's a few pretty hard edges on some of these curves. So once I get finished here, I'm basically going to start back at the beginning and just double check all my work. Go over it with a light, maybe even a flashlight, just to check all the angles of it to make sure that I got all the edges taken care of. If we look at the front of this strut tower, I haven't block sanded this yet. Now this part felt pretty smooth to me before I added the high build primer. Now you can see if I angle the light on it this way, it's casting some shadows, and you can really see kind of where the imperfections are. So these are what I'm gonna have to try to block sand out and get this smooth, because that's gonna look pretty bad when I paint this and I just have these random bulges here. So basically it'll be similar to something like this where I have the bare metal coming through. So I do realize that I'm gonna have some ripples and stuff, and I'm okay with having a bit of waviness to it, but I just don't want there to be like just random bumps like this. So I think what happened in this case is there would be bare metal here, and then as I was block sanding it, I was sanding away the body filler around it, so then this wouldn't sand away, but all the body fill around it would sand away. So rather than feathering out that edge, it ended up making a very pronounced bump in it. So I'm hoping with the block sanding I'll be able to minimize that as much as possible, because then at least all of this will sand out evenly. As soon as I make it down to bare metal, that's when I'm gonna stop. So basically what I did over here. So as soon as I hit bare metal, and then you can see the edge feathers out to where I have the epoxy primer, and then it feathers out even more to the high build primer. So it's a very smooth transition. So if I do the same on this side, it shouldn't have such an obvious bump. So hopefully I can get all this finished tonight. That's the goal anyway. So let's get to it. Alright, that's enough procrastinating. Let's get this sanding nightmare over with. Alright guys, it's been a long time coming, but sanding in the engine bay is officially done. Right? Yes, thank you, thank you. So I actually looked back at some of the old videos and found out that we actually started shaving this bay 10 months ago. So when I got started on this, I had no idea it was going to take this long, but obviously we ran into some issues while we were stripping stuff down, and those issues had to be fixed. And then one thing led to another, and here we are. And I was actually tracking how much time it took to block sand the engine bay after high build primer. So I tracked it every day. It worked out to being a total of about 20 hours. Super stoked about the progress we've made. Now it is time for seam seal. So I've kind of been dreading this part because I'm not very good at using this stuff, but I'm gonna start on some of the areas that are less seen. Hopefully I can get some more practice in with this stuff, and hopefully I can get to the point where it is acceptable and I can use it in some of the higher visibility areas. So I'm gonna start inside the car. Now don't mind the mess or anything. I haven't vacuumed or anything in here. I still got sandblasting sand, parts everywhere, just ignore that. So these are all the holes that I filled and have welded metal into. So now I need to seam seal all of those from the inside to make sure no moisture gets to them. My biggest worry is that moisture is going to get behind there and start to cause rust, and then the body fill is going to let go, start to crack. So I don't want any of that to happen. I want to give this the best possible chance to last. So just like last time, I'm going to be using the 3M gray seal. This is still what I had left over from when I did the front rad support and seam sealed the frame rails. So once I apply the seam seal, I'm just going to smooth it out with soap water that I have here. Hopefully I can get it looking nice with that. And once I actually get going inside the engine bay, I'm going to use masking tape to mask off both sides of where I want to seam seal. And then that should create a cleaner line so it's not going to spread past where I want it to. So we'll give that a try. I just got to start using this stuff more. Hopefully I get better at it. I do have some tools that I want to use as well. So I have a couple of these tools that I think will help a lot in getting a much more even bead along the seam. So I'll try these out. We'll see if they work. But anyway guys, that's enough of me talking. Let's get to work. Now my balls are turning blue, yeah. Alright guys, so I was working on the seam seal pretty late into the night yesterday, and we ended up having quite the snowstorm last night, so I had to spend most of the morning today clearing snow. But we're back out here now. Let's see if we can get this finished. So yesterday I was able to get the seam up along the firewall here done. I got the frame rail here done. This one, most of the seam was already filled in, so I didn't bother doing too much on here. There was just a bit of a gap in this area here, so took care of that. That is now seam sealed. And then I got the seams done all up along here, down along here, and then same on this side. So basically all I have left to do is the top of the strut towers and then along the top of the pinch weld up here on both sides. So not too much left to do, but these are highly visible areas, so I'm really going to take my time on these to make sure I get it right. I got quite a bit of practice yesterday, and I think I'm getting a lot better with this stuff. I didn't end up using the tools very much. I ended up just using my finger to smooth it out for the most part, but I did use masking tape most of the time to get a nice straight edge on there. So that seems to be working for me. I'm probably going to do that same thing today. So yeah, I'm just going to race through this last little bit of it, then the seam seal is done. So over the past few weekends, me and my boy have been working on this tunnel here. And with the snowstorm we had last night, we were worried it all got snowed in. But it looks like we found it. Still fit in there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Pretty deep and long.
Looks like we might have to dig it out a bit so I fit again. I don't think I fit in there anymore.
What's with that big hump in the middle?
Making some room so I can fit?
Yep.
The master igloo builder at work.
Right here.
Oh yeah, that's working real good. Alright guys, I do believe seam seal is done. So I got this area done now. Same as this side on top of the strut towers. So I think that is everywhere I needed to do. I did forget that I did weld in a bunch of panels on this side too, so they needed to be seam sealed from the inside, which is way up under the dash. Now this was about as tight as a hipster's jeans, so I had to take the front seat out, had to lay down on the floor so I could reach up there with the seam seal gun, but we got it all done. Glad I never have to do that again.
You could not be more wrong.
If I turn the light on here, maybe we can have a better look at this. So I'm pretty happy with these results. Again, it's not perfect by any means. I still need a lot of practice with this stuff, but this ended up turning out a lot better than the first time I tried using it. So I think once I apply primer, paint, and clear coat, it's going to smooth this out a lot more. It's going to kind of self-level itself, and it's not going to look as bad as it does now. So while we're on the topic of primer, paint, and clear coat, I made a trip to the paint store today. So as you all probably know, my intercooler piping is black, engine mounts are black, except for the billet aluminum. Engine is black, transmission is black, all the hardware is black. Basically, everything in the engine bay is black. So I needed a color to offset that, and I am pretty stoked with the color I chose. So this is what just over 400 Canadian dollars can buy you. So I got 3 cans of epoxy primer 2K, 3 cans of 2K clear coat Glamour, so this is high gloss, box of gloves. This is a mild wax and grease remover, so this is safe to use on primer, so it shouldn't eat away like acetone does. So this will make sure I get rid of all that soap water residue from seam sealing. And 4 cans of base coat. So this is, well, they say it's yellow, but this is actually called Gold Rush Mica. It's a Toyota color. It's only found on the Scion XB apparently. So I don't know if this is going to do it justice or not, but there's some pretty good metallic in there. I'm pretty happy with it. I think this is going to contrast very well with all the black accents I have in the engine bay. So at this point, I do believe I have everything I need to get this engine bay finished. So while I was seam sealing, I did find a few little areas that I do need to do some detail sanding on yet. So we're not quite out of the woods yet, but it's very minimal. There's just a bit of sanding I have to do on the strut towers yet. And other than that, I think we are about ready to start prepping. So I think I'm gonna save all that for the next video. That way we can focus on prep, masking, and spraying. So next video, we're gonna have this thing painted. I'm stoked. Hope you guys are too. So I'm gonna end this video here, guys. Thanks for watching. I know it didn't seem like I got much done, but I spent a lot of hours on sanding and just trying to get this engine bay as perfect as I possibly could with my skill set. I already know it's not going to be 100% perfect, but I do think it's something that I'm going to be happy with in the end. So we'll see you next time. If you haven't subscribed already, definitely consider doing so. We got a lot of content coming on this car and a lot of new stuff happening this year. So we're pretty stoked about that. Drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about the color. I personally am stoked with it. But yeah, guys, we're getting super close. I'm stoked. We'll see you next time.